Hi, Jeanette here with Wildwoods Wellness. Just wanted to drop in and do a quick little chat. Today, I really have on my mind this idea of being honest with ourselves. And it's so important because if you, on your path to wellness, you cannot change if you don't be honest with yourself. You can't heal, grow, transform, alchemize, whatever language you want to put around it. It isn't possible if you're not going to be honest with yourself, because how can you get to where you want to go if you're not going to be honest about where you're at? This is a huge thing that a lot of us have to face on our journeys, because we live in a society that really likes to put its heads in the sand and pretend like things don't exist or pretend like everything is okay. This is conditioned. It runs through our culture, through our ancestry, generational, and we really have to put a stop to that. We have to consciously become aware of it. And this is this capacity to witness ourselves and really look at where are we lying to ourselves? Where are we saying it's okay, it's fine? That's not what's really happening here. So we weave these stories to justify the situations that we're in. Because this is the thing, and this is why it's so scary to be honest with ourselves, because as soon as we are, now at this point, when I've been honest with myself and I admit this is where I'm at, or this is what's really going on here, now I have two choices. My two choices are that I change or that I consciously choose to stay where I'm at. That's a big thing. We don't like to consciously choose to stay in our own shit now, do we? So what can happen to as we go through these processes of being honest with ourselves? If we are stuck in a loop, we feel like we're just circling around, those are the situations where we're more likely to just put our heads in the sand or weave the story and not really face the truth. However, when we start being honest with ourselves and we start doing this as a way to consciously move forward and heal and grow, we can still feel like a bit we're in that circle and we're coming back to the same thing. But we have to remember that we're on a spiral. So every time you're coming back around, really, really, again, be honest with yourself and look at how it's changed and how at that turn of the spiral, you're not actually in the exact same spot you were before. You got a different perception, you got a different perspective. Things might be a little different. You may be handling it better or in a different way than you would have before, and that's all progress. So those of you that follow me a lot know that I talk a lot about truth, being true to ourselves, speaking our truth. But the reality is that truth is a really subjective term. There's not a lot of absolute truths in this world at all, other than like we need to breathe to live. We require air, water, food. Those are absolute truths. But otherwise, most things that I would say are true for me. That's my truth at this exact moment in time. And it doesn't mean that my truth is going to be your truth. And actually, what is my truth today might not even be my truth tomorrow. Again, when you're committed to being honest to yourself, that requires a commitment to know that your truth can change and to be okay with that. And we can change our truth. We can shift our perspective and put on a new lens of perception. And in that, our truth can shift, and that's okay. There's no guilt around that. There's no shame around that. We don't put labels on it of like, oh, you failed. And this is something that's really important to remember as we develop this capacity to be honest with ourselves. As if every time you're honest with yourself and you have to shift your internal truth, and maybe that's creating a shift in then your external world. If you're going to beat yourself up and carry around a bunch of guilt and shame and this failure label around that, you're going to be less likely to go through that process of being honest with yourself. So really make sure that you're coming at this from a really positive standpoint, because every time we can change our lens, every time we can gain more clarity and a cleaner perspective of something, that's amazing. That's growth. And you really need to commend yourself for that, because we live in a world that really shies away from that. So it's a big, important deal. And I'll share with you personally, I went through this a lot on my healing path. And it comes around for me all the time. I'm always traveling on this spiral, and things are always shifting and changing, and the truth is always changing for me. And a while ago, the public school system wasn't really working for my family, my kids and I, and they asked to be homeschooled. And so we took that step. And, I'm a single mom and I have this business, and I'm like, how am I going to homeschool 2 kids? And I had some people step up and help me out, and just some things fell into place. And okay, so let's try this. Let's see if this can work for us. And months down the road, it has started to feel a bit like, I'm trying to paddle up a waterfall, but my boat has holes and I don't have paddles, and nobody gets up a waterfall. But we all really liked the idea of homeschooling. So there was a little bit of like not being honest with ourselves. And finally, I sat down with the kids and I was like, I don't think this is working for us. And they were all like, no, it's not. And so we were able as a family to just sit and have this conversation of being honest with ourselves of, we really like this ideal. We see the merits in this. We see the problems that we have with the existing school system, but the reality is that this situation is not working for us. And so, on that spiral, we're kind of coming back around to where we started, looking at, okay, so what are our school options? What are we going to do here? What's our next step? And we may be going back to some of the places where we started, but the difference is now we have a new lens of perception. Now we have more clarity because we tried this thing and it didn't work for us. And that's okay, because now we tried it. We went into it with an open mind. We did our best. And now we can come back and go, okay, I can come at this with a different perception. And in that sense right there, it can have a different outcome. And if anything, I see this as such a valuable life lesson for my own children, because they're still young. They're not even quite teens yet. And so for them to look at this with such an open mind, and it to be a growth opportunity and a learning opportunity rather than it being packed with guilt and shame and feelings of failure, that's huge. And that's something as a parent and a healer and a teacher that it's so valuable for my kids. I can't even really put words around it. So I just wanted to share that little experience with you, and just the importance of being honest with ourselves, being open, and using all these opportunities as growth, as lessons, as learning. That's the alchemy behind all of this. So don't beat yourself up, but be honest with yourself. Have a look in the mirror and know that your truth is always going to be changing if you're truly committed to a path of healing and growth. So thank you for tuning in today. And just a reminder that you can follow me on social media, Wildwoods Wellness on Facebook, Wildwoods Wellness Canada on Instagram. I also have a website, www.wildwoodswellness.ca, where you can find my blog and some more information about me. And I'd love it if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on here again soon. Thank you.